Welcome to Mama Cat's Home and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be making some Instant Pot bone broth or chicken stock. I really don't know the difference and I use them interchangeably. So you can call this whatever you want if you want to, I guess. I'm going to use my Instant Pot. This is an 8-quart Instant Pot. So this recipe can be used in 6 or 8 quart though. So it's just according to you. The recipe originally, which I have changed it, but it originally called for a carcass of a rotisserie or baked chicken, but I have started doing it with my leftover parts where Jeff debones my chicken. And what I do is I put it in a freezer in a bag, which this one I did not put in a freezer bag, or I did not put it in the freezer, because I was planning on doing this. Now, on the times whenever I am making this and I'm using it frozen, I just throw it in just like it is. This is bones and skin and all those flavorful bits. So we're gonna get a lot of flavor from what's in this chicken right here. I'm not exactly sure how much to tell you it is, other than it's a gallon bag and there's about half full. So I put this in here, and then I'm going to go wash my hands and get rid of this bag, or I'm going to do the opposite or backwards. I don't know. I'm going to get rid of the bag, then I'm going to wash my hands. How about that one? Okay, the original recipe calls for scraps, like onion scraps, carrot scraps, celery scraps, all those types of things. I don't have any of those. Now there are times where I do have them, and what I do is I keep a gallon bag or quart size bag, whatever it is, in the freezer, and I just put my scraps in there as I go, and whenever I have enough, I'll use it to make stock. Well, I've already used that up. I don't have any right now. So you're going to see me use fresh not scraps today. So what I have here is a whole onion. It's probably medium to large-ish size, and what I'm going to do is just cut it into quarters. And I'm just going to let it go in there. Now, you may not need that much. I don't know. Onion is your own preference, but I love the flavor of onion. I love that it's in there, and so I'm going to use that. You would use probably the equivalent of 1 whole carrot. I don't have, that's not a whole one, that's just part of one, so I'm going to use that much of a carrot. You can put more in there if you want to. You can add less, but these are carrots that Jeff has already peeled and trimmed up. We washed them. He peeled them and cut them, and I washed them and stuck them in a bag, and then we stick them in the refrigerator. And you will see frozen celery, and I'm going to keep that the size that I have it. And you would use what would be equivalent of 1 good celery stalk. That's how much you would actually need, in my opinion. And I don't care if there are leaves in there. They have lots of flavor and they are really good. So what is left in this bag, I'm going to put right back into the freezer. So I'm going to do that now so it won't get any more thawed. I mean, this is super simple, y'all. I mean, so super simple. The next thing you're going to do is grab your bay leaves. If you have fresh, you use more than if you have dried. And you use 2 or 3 of those. These are really small, but I think I'll just use 3 of these. Are dried though. They're just bay leaves, dried bay leaves. If I can close up this jar, I'll show you what it looks like. I don't know which way it's going to be. We'll see. Anyway, now the original recipe did not call for parsley, but I like parsley, so I'm putting parsley in there. And I'm going to put a couple of good tablespoons in there of that. And it says for this recipe to have 1 to 2 sprigs of fresh thyme. I don't have any of that right now, so I'm using dried thyme. My thyme had never been opened, so I'm having to open it. Whoops. That's okay though. All right, and thyme is a very strong herb. It can be overwhelming. It can take over. We don't want it to take over our stock or bone broth, whatever you want to call this. So I'm going to only use about half of a tablespoon of the dried stuff. That's it. No more than that, because we don't want it to take over. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is add some salt. It calls for kosher salt. I'm using pink Himalayan. And my thing is, whenever you're making whatever dish you're making, you're going to add more salt. This is a lot of salt. It's a tablespoon of salt. But I would rather add only a tablespoon to this and have it good and nice and tasty, and you can drink it just like it is, than add too much salt. And then you need, it says a teaspoon of peppercorns, but I'm going to add about a half of a tablespoon, which is close to that, but not exactly. But I didn't want to get out another dish, and that's okay. All right, now the last thing you're going to put in is 8 cups of cold water. All right, that's 4. That's 4 more. Let me grab 2 more. I am so sorry. Did I say 8? I meant 10. Whoops. I had 8 there. I needed 10, y'all. Okay, so I've got my water in there, and I'm not going to be messing with anything else, but I want to push that down in there some. And because this is going to be pressure cooked, I don't much have to worry about it mixing up in here. I can just let it be like that. Also, there is a fill line on here, which is right here. I could go ahead and fill that up some more if I wanted to. And you know, I think I'm going to. I'm just going to go ahead with 12 cups of water. Because my Instant Pot is larger, and because this can handle it because of the flavorings that are in there. Plus, I did have a little bit more chicken than what you would normally have. And I put a little bit more vegetable. If you wanted any other flavorings in here, you could do that. But I don't see any point. So you make sure your seal is on. You make sure all your stuff is ready to go. And then you put your lid on. And mine is the Instant Pot Duo Nova, so I don't have to deal with all that other stuff. I don't know if you guys can see that. I guess you can. But I don't have to deal with having to make sure all of that is working the way that, or I don't have to move it to seal. It's already right where it needs to be. That's why I love this Instant Pot. So I'm going to pull y'all down here, and I'm going to show you what you need to have it on for cooking this. Is this stock or is this bone broth? Which one will it be? Well, if you want bone broth, you go ahead and you hit pressure cook. You set it for 120 minutes, and then you let it go, and it will do its thing. And you let it slow release. You don't worry about it. If you want it to be just stock, you hit pressure cook, you put it to 45 minutes, and then you do the same thing. You let it cook, you let it do its thing, slow release and all that stuff. And then you let it cool down and you can put it away. It will last for 7 days in the refrigerator or 3 months in the freezer. I will be freezing mine. But I am going to do the broth because it will pull out more of that bone goodness out of there. So I'm going to pressure cook, and I'm going to put this up to 120 minutes. And I'm going to let it go. It's on high, normal pressure, and I'm going to let it go. And it will start and do its thing. There we go. That's all I have to do. And I'll bring y'all back when it's done. Okay, so it has done its cycle, and I let it slow release for probably about 20 minutes or so, and then it started doing some of the release more, so I went ahead and released it, and this is what it looks like, because that's the first time I've opened it. Actually, I can just do that, but it's gonna probably cast a shadow. Let me scoot it over. You may be, but that wasn't. I needed to move that. I don't have a spoon in there. What? You're not you're not supposed to get that close. Okay, so this is what it looks like after it's done. Now, you can eat these carrots and onions and all that stuff. There's nothing wrong with eating it. And that's one reason why people sometimes leave them whole, is because you can eat it, but you can also feed it to your dogs, the onion, not the onions, but the carrots. Mm-hmm. Your dog? Jeffrey says he's a puppy, he's going to eat it. But anyway, I'm going to let it cool, and as you can see, the chicken is cooked through. I'm going to let it cool. Well, what chicken is on there? It's cooked, it's falling apart, and after it's cooled off some, I'm going to strain it to get all the big parts out. Then I'm going to put the broth, this golden liquid. I'm going to let this cool off. Then I'm going to strain all of this out. There will be some meat left in, and I will put it into quart-size freezer bags, and I will freeze it. I can freeze it for 3 months. If you want to just refrigerate it, you can do it for 7 days, but after that I wouldn't use it. But this is what's considered bone broth because I cooked it the longer amount of time. So I'll bring you back whenever it's time to strain it out, and I also may pick some of the meat off and use it, or I may just pick some of the meat off and we might use it in something else, like I don't know, there may not be enough left because of how he cleaned the bones whenever he was deboning the chicken. But all of the carrots can be fed to dogs. Don't feed the onions to the dogs. Don't feed the what are they called, celery and bones. But the skin could be fed to dogs, or Jeffrey will probably eat what he can of it. He might even try to gnaw on a bone. Okay, so this has been cooling some, but it's not completely cooled because it's in this, and also because it's in this insulated machine. So what I'm going to do is take every bit of this out that I can and put into this bowl. I'm going to get out all the big bits of whatever's in there first, put it in this bowl, and then I'm going to bring another bowl over here to drain out the rest of it. I probably should have gotten some kind of spoon, but I don't know if that would have worked very well. This way I normally would do it, but it seems like there's a lot of liquid in there. But I'm just trying to get out the biggest pieces of all the meat and vegetables, and I won't get all of it out. I know that already. See, like that right there is chicken that I want to keep, so I'm gonna put it in my bowl over there. But I have a bowl that is you'll see it in a minute. I've got it ready for straining this the rest of the way. I've seen some people use cheesecloth and just cook their meat and vegetables in the broth with the cheesecloth, or in the water with the cheesecloth. But I've never tried that, and I don't know how it would work in an Instant Pot, but I know in a crock pot it would work just fine. but I don't know how it would work in here. I guess it probably would work. I've never tried it or seen anyone do it. I think I've got most. Well, every time I think I got most of it out, I thought there's more. That's all I'm gonna do for now. I'll drain that out again too. Alright, so I've got a colander here that was sitting on there perfectly fine. And then I've got this. I don't have a, well, I have a bigger colander, but I don't know if it would fit very well, like inside that. So I'm just going to use this one because I think it would get the liquid all out everywhere where I don't want it to be. But this is cold enough that I can touch the pot, and I'm going to pour it slowly because I don't want it to splash because it is still hot. You can probably see the smoke coming off of it. Yeah, I didn't get all the big chunks out. And of course you don't want to have all those peppercorns and stuff in there either, like inside your broth, because you can't eat a peppercorn. Well, you could eat a peppercorn, but you probably wouldn't want to. Okay, so now I'm going to get my bags ready. And the way I do that is I will write what this is and the date on the bag. That way I know how long that I have before it's going to go bad. But I know it'll be used before time. But I'm going to get that ready. And this is going to get cooled off a little bit more. But I'm going to put some saran wrap over it and just stick it in the refrigerator so that it can be cooled even more. I may just go ahead and let this cool overnight in the refrigerator and come back tomorrow to put it in the bags. That way I know for a fact that it is super cool and safe to put in the freezer, because if you put hot things in the freezer, it can make other things defrost that you don't want to defrost. So, or at least they start defrosting. They do freeze back, but it's just not good to defrost and then freeze, and or not defrost. Is that, anyway, thaw and freeze, whatever the word is. But I think I'm going to just put the saran wrap over this, put it in the refrigerator overnight, and then come back for the rest of it. You can go ahead if you want to and pick all the meat that you can off the bones and put in with this, and that way you have that whenever you cook it with something else. But you need to make sure that whatever you are cooking, you're going to need chicken for, or you're just going to have chicken pieces in it. But that's up to you. I like to do it because I don't like to waste the chicken. Okay, so it is time to go ahead and put my bone broth into the freezer. This has been in the refrigerator all night. I have my bags ready to go with the date on them and what they are. I have a quart size mason jar as my holder. I do have those bag holders that are for Ziploc bags you get on Amazon, but for something that's liquid like this, I don't like using them. I honestly don't like them very much because they don't work as well as what I thought they would. Okay, and you see there's like fat on the top of this. Don't throw that away. Don't get rid of that because there's collagen in there. And if you look, this has kind of thickened up, and that is because of all the collagen that came out of the bones. And we did pick through and got a lot of that meat out. I don't know if you can see it very well, but you'll see it once I get it in the bags. But I'm just going to stir it up a little bit because I want a little bit of everything in here. Now, like I said, if I was not going to use this for a chicken, something I didn't want chicken in. Well, I probably wouldn't have done chicken broth, would I? But if I didn't want chicken, I would have went ahead and not put the chicken in. And I'm going to try to do this without a funnel. And the reason why is because a funnel wouldn't work well with all of that chicken that's in there. It's going to take me a little bit to get every bit of this in here, but just have patience with yourself. Get your bags filled up, and you will definitely thank yourself later for this goodness, because it's very healthy for you. It is delicious, and it's just so much better for you to have this than and know what's in it than to have that stuff out of the grocery stores. Now, do I use that out of the grocery stores? Absolutely. You've seen me use it hundreds of times. I don't know how many times I've used it on my videos, but well, maybe not hundreds, but you've seen me use it a lot. I use bone broth, chicken broth, chicken stock. I use all of that on my videos. I use all of that in my regular day-to-day cooking that I need it. But this right here is just really good for you. And also, you are not wasting that goodness from those bones whenever you buy and do your own processing of your meat. I should have pulled this out before. Oh, great. There. I made a mess. See, don't do that. That's what you don't do. But I wanted to fill this on up a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to fill this up a little bit more. I made a bit of a mess, but that's okay. I can always clean up my mess. But I want to fill it up a little more. Ooh, I'm making a bigger mess, because I'm not looking at what I'm doing. Okay, that'll be good enough. I'm not going to do it anymore. Alright, and what you want to do is seal it up and get all of the air out that you can. And it's fairly easy whenever it comes to something like this, because you just kind of squish it down and then you seal it up, and there you go, you got your bone broth. I'll have to wipe this off, and then I'll freeze it like this. Now, a lot of times when I'm doing something that's liquid, I will put it into another bag. I'll put like all of these bags into a big bag, and I'll probably be doing that today. But I'm just going to set this to the side and get another bag ready. And I want to show you how I do the bag. I just stick it in there and fold it over, and then I kind of squish it down a little bit. But if I wasn't doing this by myself, I would probably have someone hold the bag for me and pour it in with a measuring cup, because that's easier. But I'm doing it alone, and you guys might be doing it alone whenever you start to do it. So I wanted to show you this way. That's the way I should have done it the first time, instead of making the mess. Which I always make a mess, but that's okay. That's just fine. Messes can be cleaned up. There's another ready to go in the freezer. And I should get 4 quarts, is what it should be. Something like that. Okay, so the reason why I put it in this big bag is just in case this decides to come open until it's completely frozen, because you don't want all that broth in your freezer. So another way you can do it is take these bags, put them on a pan and flash freeze them. That's the best way to honestly do it. And but I want to go ahead and get it in the freezer. The reason why it's the best way to do it is because then you don't have to put them in another bag. They're all in one bag and it's done. So you just take it on and put it on a sheet pan, stick it in the freezer, let it flash freeze, and then you're done. Well, you take your pan out later. So that is all that I did. That's how simple it is. It takes minutes to throw together and minutes to have this wonderful, healthy bone broth that is just so good in your soups and things like that. I've even taken this and made like chicken and rice with it, added more chicken to it. So good. Anyway, that is how I do it. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this, go ahead and hit the like button. If you like my channel, go ahead and subscribe. Hit the bell so you notified when I upload. Also, leave me a comment down below. Do you make your own broths or stocks? And remember, don't take any wooden nickels, and be sweet.